This is Mark B of Mark B's Perspective, and I'm excited to teach you how to control and manage your anger. And I know, man, we can't stop from getting angry, right? But we can control and monitor how we respond to our anger because everybody gets angry. Even in the Bible, Jesus speak of be angry and sin not, or the Bible, it speaks about being angry, but sin not, meaning you can be angry, but that's not going to justify you acting a fool, right? Um, Jesus got angry when he went to the temple. He tipped over some stuff, right? But they don't say he hit nobody. He didn't violate in that sense. So let's start it. This is part one of how to control your anger. This is part one of how to control your anger. And I guess if you're watching this, you have been angry a time or two in your life, right? Some of us has gone beyond anger and I don't know if you want to call it rage or whatever, but we took it to the next level, right? In part one, we're going to identify 3 steps of dealing with our anger. The first 3 steps of dealing with our anger. I know y'all heard the word triggers, right? People throw that word out loosely. You got to know your triggers, right? So let me explain to you my understanding of triggers. This is what it is. And this comes from, before I go get ahead of myself, I'm going to say this training or this lesson actually comes from, what's called ART, aggression replacement training, right? We want to replace your aggression with something else. So we're going to start with, first of all, identifying what gets you angry. And the first step in identifying that is knowing your triggers. Triggers are identified as or defined as anything that makes you angry. Your triggers are identified as anything that makes you angry. So I remember working at a facility, right? And a juvenile facility, by the way. So we had the students on a hall. They had to get permission to even speak. So I remember one time a student raised their hand, right? I gave him permission to speak. They said, "Sir," he looked at me, right? And then me as a grown man, I'm thinking, you let that bother you because somebody looking at you? That was my question to myself. I did not ask this question to him. I just thought it to myself. But yes, to that individual, somebody looking at him that particular kind of way, however he thought they looked at him, that was a trigger for him. You're like, man, if you that easy, you're going to have problems in this world. So let me explain. There's 2 types of triggers. One we control a little bit more and one we have less control over. So triggers, the 2 types of triggers are external and internal, right? So let's start with external triggers because I mentioned the student said that somebody looked at him. That's an external trigger. That was something that happened outside of his control, right? Somebody looked at him and he felt like he needed to respond. I don't know if he felt like it was disrespect or what he thought that the look meant to him, but in his mind, that external trigger, something that somebody outside of him done to him, caused him to get angry or at least agitated. That's the external. The internal trigger, and it still goes together because from what happened externally, internally he interpreted it as, because internal is a trigger that's inside of you. So when the guy looked at him, which was an external trigger, he looked at the guy took it upon himself and now he internalized it. So in his mind, he thinking that dude is he didn't interpret it, the look or whatever, right? And he done took it inside. Out of the two, the external and the internal triggers, which one do you think we control the most? I'm gonna give you a minute to think about that. With the external and the internal triggers, which one do you think that we control as an individual the most? Think about it. Put your thoughts in the comments section. Which one do you think individuals, us as individuals, control? I would hope that you said the internal, because a lot of stuff can happen externally, meaning outside of us. People can do stuff to us, they can say stuff to us, right? That we have no control over. But we do control how we respond to that or how we interpret that. It's crazy because people can be in a car driving, right? This is, sometimes how it leads up to road rage. Somebody may accidentally cut somebody or whatever it may be, right? Those still are external triggers. But the other person, like, you cut me off, is intentional. So internally, that individual then interpreted what he thought it to be. He interpreted, or she interpreted on their own. And now they're trying to get back. And now we got road rage. And if you have not known, people have lost their lives in road rage. Excuse me. People have lost their lives during road rage incidents. So we got to be very careful with how we interpret stuff that we don't even know if that's true or not. Somebody passed me and pulled in front of me. They meant to do this, and internally we taking it there, and now we so angry, so we done took the external trigger, right? And now we internalizing it. We hyping ourselves even more, and now we got to get even. And that's, as I said, that's how it happens in road rage, even on your job. Let's say on your job, right? You're a professional, you got a professional job, and you may go to the break room at a certain time and get coffee, hypothetically speaking. So as you go in there to get your coffee, it's less than a half a cup. So that's external. You can't control that. That was an external trigger, right? But you didn't internalize that, and now you thinking people are out to get you. So internally, you done told yourself, man, they know I come in here every time. Why they didn't fill up, the coffee pot? Why did they not fill up the coffee pot? Why did they not fill up the coffee pot? And internally, you interpret it. I know this is a personal attack. They knew I was coming in here, and we internalize it. So remember, man, as far as your triggers, first of all, know what triggered you. You got to know your triggers. Everything. You got to list that stuff. When you first starting out, you got to list a whole lot of things that get you angry. List them, right? So that at least you can know what they are. List those triggers. And then start working on what you internalize, how you internalize it. You're responsible for that. You are responsible for your internal triggers, because external is everything. Everywhere you go, you get stopped at a red light. The red light changed on me. They knew it was me. So we cannot control what happens to us. We cannot control what people say to us. We cannot control what people do to us, right? We can't control that, but we can control how we respond to that. So we're gonna have to really do some inventory, figure out all the things that get us angry, from the little things, right, to the big things. Because in life, sometimes something small can turn to something big. I want to use another example too before I move on to our physical signs. So let's say we're at McDonald's, right? All we want to do is get a quick lunch, get a bite to eat, and get back to work. So we go on McDonald's, we waiting in the line patiently, just like everybody else. But somebody comes in and jumps in front of us in the line. That is an external trigger. My question to you is, how do you handle that? Because though it's external, nothing really happened to you. Somebody violated you externally, yes, but no physical harm was done to you or anything. How do you handle that internally? There are several ways to handle it. You can politely go to the individual, tap them on the shoulder. Excuse me, sir. I was already in line. Did you not see me? That's the respectful and honorable thing to do, right? But there are some people who are angry and they got issues themselves, but they are not addressing them or dealing with them. So hypothetically, in a perfect world, they would be like, oh, my fault. I didn't see you. And they would, get behind you. But let's say if they dealing with anger, they got anger issues themselves. So you nicely tapped on their shoulder. Hey, man, you ain't see me in line. They turn around and say, excuse me. Yeah, I saw you. And what? I ain't moving. What you gonna do about it? So internally, you can take that or interpret that several different ways. Even when I was at the youth facility, one word that we heard a lot was disrespect. He disrespect me, and it's the principal and all that. Sometimes as grown people, even out in society, we don't take lightly to disrespect, or we interpret something as being disrespectful. And we might feel like, oh, we got to handle this. So when that guy, whether it's a male or female, turn around with that type of response, what do you do? With me, knowing me, there's a couple options. We all have options, right? So if I'm thinking about what can happen, how far this can go, I might just say my bad and let it ride, right? I might just let that ride, man, because it might not be worth it to me. But what if you're not at that point yet? You're like, what? Nah, man. And you go ahead and physically get in front of them. And now you find yourself maybe in a physical altercation. So you got to be very careful. But I want to say this, even like learning about your external triggers, everything that gets you upset internally, you got to practice this stuff before you get in the heat of the moment. You can't wait till you get out there in McDonald's, or you can't wait till you in the break room with your coworker that you really don't like, right? You got to come up with these strategies and thoughts, hypotheticals, what to do, how to handle it, right? What's important to you, when to put everything on the line, when not to put it on the line. You got to think about that before you get to these situations. So as you do this course, as you do this training, as you're learning your external and your internal triggers, you got to be learning this stuff for real, and just put it in your toolbox to when you confront it with it. And it's going to take time. You'll get better as time goes. So we spoke about your or our triggers, our external triggers, and our internal triggers, right? Now we're going to go to our physical signs that our body give us to warn us that we're getting angry. I bet you didn't know that our bodies were so advanced and equipped, right, with methods or techniques to let us know that we're angry. Did you know that? Well, it does. Physical signs. And you probably noticed it and never really thought about it. But some of the physical signs, right, that I learned from myself, as well as in these classes, right, or even training these classes and listening to other people, the physical signs that they have. I'm gonna just give you a few, and then you add them too, right? You add to it some of your personal physical signs that trying to let you know that your body's trying to let you know that you're upset. It can be something as little as your eye start twitching. Some people lip start twitching. Some people legs start twitching. Some people grit, right? Some people shed a tear. Some people ball up their fists. Some people pace around. And I want y'all to add in the comment section, what have you noticed? What physical signs have you noticed that you have when you get angry? Man, some people just start sweating, right? But it's very important to acknowledge your physical signs because these are straight warnings, man, that might be necessary. Because you know how they say some people go from 0 to 10 like this. Sometimes that's us with anger. So we want to know these things because once you get these warnings, as soon as you get your warning, your body then warned you. It's called a cue. Then it gave you a cue, letting you know that, listen, you're angry, you're about to, go from baseline, right? Now you agitated and you escalated and you're going to soon be at rage. So at that point, as your body telling you or warning you, listen, you're getting upset, calm down. As your body doing that, is very important for you, right, to do something at that point. You got to do something to address that anger, because if you don't, it's just going to continue to go up. It don't just come down on its own. Anger does not just come down on its own without us doing something. And I'm going to talk about that something in a minute, but I want us to understand that our body give us physical signs. And the one that I remember, thinking back, even as I was a child, I would always grip my teeth because I'd be trying to hold that anger in. That's probably not my only one, but that's one of the main ones. Gritting my teeth, trying to hold it in. You got to know what your physical signs that your body gives you to warn you that you're getting upset. That's why I say this is not cookie cutter. This is not made up. This is designed specifically for you to help you, right, deal with your anger. Because I don't know anger like your anger. You don't know anger like my anger. It's all individual. But the better we know ourselves, the more equipped we will be when it's time to deal with that stuff. And we won't easily throw it away, right? I, used to ask people, in while at the facility or even in groups or just dealing with, young people individually. And you can ask them sometimes, why did you do some of the stuff that you did? Why? And do you know just a simple question of why? Some people cannot answer that. And that's not just for juveniles. That's also for grown people. Why did you do it? I don't know. Richard Pryor, the comedian from back in the day, he did a skit, and part of the skit, he's saying he talking to not him, but they're talking to somebody who killed these people. They say, "Hey man, why you kill everybody in the house?" And it was funny because we knew it wasn't true, but it's really not funny. The killer's response was, "They was home." So the only reason he had to justify him for doing what he did was they were home. No real reason. He just did it because that's what he did. We should not do anything. This is me speaking now. I believe we should not do anything without a purpose, rhyme, or reason, right? The more we do stuff for a purpose, rhyme, or reason, the less likely we do crazy stuff. So let's remember that, man. Don't just be out here just doing anything. So as we speak about, I just went over step 2, knowing our cues, all the physical signs that our body give us to let us know that we're getting angry. Once we get that warning, right? Now it's time to do something about it. And what's should be done is to reduce our anger. Because if we don't reduce it, we're going to escalate. So the next step, as I said, step 3 is anger reducers. So we got to create these reducers. Let me tell you, we can't wait till we're in the midst of a heated argument to think about reducers, because we might not be able to come up with any at that time. We need to do this before. All this need to take place before, while we're in these classes, while we home meditating, praying. We need to know these things. So what we do in our toolbox, once again, we're going to put in a lot of ways to reduce our anger. And I'm gonna just share some of the stuff that the course teach you, right? But you got to have your own, because none of the ones that we say may not apply to you. They may not work for you. My number one is I have to remove myself. So my number one is remove myself, right? Because if I'm still there and I'm heated, I'm agitated, escalating, about to hit rage, and I hear the other person talking, that may even further escalate. So I got to remove myself. If you're one of the ones that got to remove yourself, remove yourself. So these are some of the reducers that's taught in the course, right? And how to control and deal with your anger. They say count backwards, right? 10, 9, 8. So whatever works for you. You can go from 100. They say you can skip by twos. You don't have to start at 10. It's all up to you. This is for you. You got to decide what's best for you and use that. And it's going to take some practice, because not saying you do it the first time it's going to work. It may not work. But they say practice makes perfect. I heard that before. But I know the people who was teaching us how to become trainers, they said, no, practice doesn't make perfect. They say perfect practice makes perfect. Because if you keep doing something wrong, you're going to keep doing it wrong. So remember this, perfect practice makes perfect. So try to get better. Try to, you're never going to be perfect, but always strive to be better. So if counting backwards, counting forward, they have another thing called pleasant imagery. And this is tricky, because in your mind, you're imagining, I guess, let's say a good vacation you went on, and you're imagining you're being there. And for some people, that does help, reduce their anger. But there's a whole list of things. You got to come up with as many pleasant imageries, or not pleasant imageries, as many anger reducers as possible. Singing a positive song, singing a spiritual song, right, to yourself. Maybe something good that's going to help you reduce your anger. The goal is not to escalate, man, because you will go from baseline to rage real quick. So once you're at baseline and you feel agitated, at that point, your body is going to let you know that you're angry. And once you know that that's what your body is saying, now you're able to implement these anger reducers. And I want y'all to also put in the comments section some of the things that you think may work, right? Some of the things that you may have done in the past that works. Put that in the comment section. I seen some people, right, once they at that point, they punch a wall, and to them, they feel like that was a reducer. The only thing that's kind of tricky, right, for me, because it still is an expression of violence. And just like you hit the wall, you may hit an individual. So I'm not sure if I would use that as a reducer. It may be something else, but I don't know if that's actually an anger reducer or not. So just be, very careful with, what you choose as an anger reducer. It has to be something that actually start reducing your anger. And it's going to take some trial and error. You may try something that might not be as strong, right? Or you may, that's why I say you got to have as many anger reducers as possible in your toolbox, right? If you pacing back and forth, whatever that is, I don't know. But you have to have as many anger reducers. Some people say they go read a book, do this, but something got to get you out of that state that you in, because you're at agitation, right? And you can, as you're agitated, it will probably escalate. And our goal is to not escalate, but we want to de-escalate. We don't want to get further into it. And like me, like I said, I got to remove myself, right? I have to remove myself to get my thoughts together. I don't really want to be hearing the other person still talking. And that's another thing I think is very important. No matter what your reducer is, you probably gonna have some space between you and another or the other individual, man. Right? Especially if it's at the point where both people are talking and you can hear it, because now you're gonna feel like you got to respond to that. So, as I said, man, in this first part one, man, first of all, I want to thank y'all, man. I hope that y'all took notes, right? On part one, is I addressed the first three steps in controlling our anger. That's knowing and identifying our triggers, knowing the difference between our internal triggers and our external triggers, right? Step two, understanding our cues, which are physical signs that our body is trying to tell us that, hey, you get angry. Write all that down. Know all your cues, all your physical signs that your body have used in the past, right? To let you know or warn you that you're getting angry. You got to be on top of that. And then step three, man, anger reducers, man. Put as many anger reducers in your arsenal as possible. I don't care if you're meditating, I don't care if you're praying, whatever it is, right? Put as many of these tools in your arsenal. You can use more than one at a time. Like I said, I like to remove myself. If I remove myself, I still may meditate or pray, or whatever it may be, but have as many of these as possible in your arsenal, man. Because guess what? It's real out there. Even within in your household or in a person's household, you got domestic violence sometimes. Husband and wives may go through it, and you got to figure out, not, first of all, you don't want to hurt each other, but if y'all both agitated, right, sometimes go in the other room if that's possible. But we got to deal with our anger before it's too late. If we go to prison and talk to some of the people who may have harmed other people, right? In a lot of cases, I'm not going to say all cases, but in a lot of cases, these individuals regret what they have done. In a lot of cases, these individuals actually regret what they have done. And looking back, they was like, man, if I only would have walked away, right? If I only would have did this, or if I only would have did that, I would not be in this situation that I'm in right now. So I want to thank y'all, man. Share in the comments so far. Have you learned something, right? What do you plan to do in the future when you find yourself being triggered or somebody getting you angry? What's your next step? Share it in the comments. It's important to share in the comment section because somebody else will read it, right? And it may help them. You don't even have to know the individual, but by you sharing your experience, it may help somebody else. By sharing your experience or some of the tools that you're using, whether it's some of your cues, some of your triggers, right? What are you saying to yourself to prevent from escalating, to reduce your anger? Share those things in the comment section. It's imperative that you do that because you will help somebody else. Make sure you share that in the comment section, because you will share, you will help somebody else. As I said, this is part one of how to control your anger, right? We're going to have part two coming up. Part two will be coming up. I want to thank y'all for watching the entire video, right? I hope that you learned as much as possible. I hope that you took notes, and I also encourage you to share in the comments section, because your experience will help somebody else. Your experience will help somebody else. Thank you once again. Thank you. And don't forget to watch part two, right? So you can follow up, because we got to really deal with this anger and all that's going on in our society, because we are responsible for the choices that we make. We can't say, somebody else made me do it. He made me mad, or she made me mad. That's not going to be an excuse, right? We will and we are going to be held accountable for our actions. Just understand that before you make your next decision. Apply these tools, right? It will improve your life. Thank you once again. I thank y'all once again, man. Until next time, man. Y'all be safe out there. Make the right decision, right? Till next time. Peace.